One of the very first jobs I had that kind of defined me, kind of molded me into the man that I am with this deep voice. It's when I started ringing bells for a certain organization that collected donations around the holiday season. Now, why did I get this job? Well, it was the only thing that was available that I could get as a job when I was 14 years old. So, the backstory behind me getting this job is the fact that, well, I needed money to buy a car. A car wasn't going to be given to me or anything like that, so I needed to start early to start saving up to eventually buy a car when I was of age at 16. So, I was 14 years old. It was the year 2000. I was in 8th grade, and it was over the holiday break. And a lot of places, didn't hire a kid my age yet, but there's something called a worker's permit that you could get to where, hey, some jobs will hire you even at age 14, age 15. And, I didn't have any family that could hook me up with a job anywhere. So it was just like, okay, fill out your application as if you're a grown ass man already and see what happens. So I filled out some applications here and there. Like there was the animal shelter, but they only wanted volunteers. You wouldn't get any money from that. The Bellringer job, on the other hand, did pay. And they paid you a whopping $6. Minimum wage back then was $5.50, but this was $6. So yeah, that's awesome for a kid that's 14, whatever. I don't really recall the interview too much, but I do remember that, hey, are you able to get here on time? Are you able to stand in the cold? Are you able to ring a bell? Yes, yes, and yes. So, okay, you are hired on. Now you may be asking yourself, well, don't volunteers do it for free? Don't they? They don't get paid. Oh yeah. The volunteers that do it for free are like either Boy Scouts or whatever, and they only do it for like 3 hours or 4 hour slots, and they are always put at the hot spots in the areas, the hot spots where most customers donate the most. Any place that don't have free working volunteers, they take either, a kid like me, for instance, and some, I don't know, they're like being housed by the organization till they, I guess, get on their feet or whatever. So they're given this job to just kind of like, help out. So there's them as well. So most of the time, I never got involved or got to meet the volunteers that did it for free. I was always with the people that were housed by the organization, kind of like, they're kind of obligated to do it. So you got them, and then you got me, 14 years old, just trying to make some money any way he can. I remember that winter. It was really, really cold. So how the average day of a bell ringer would start would be you would show up at the organization building, the main area where everybody else is, and then you'll walk into this chapel area, like the church, and you just sit in the pews, and there is the lieutenant, the guy up front, and he'll just start giving the names of the places you are going to be ringing the bells at that day. So, they just went through blah, blah, blah. I would say the best places that you would get the most donations are like Sam's Club. Sam's Club was always the biggest because, like, back then you would get like over $300 in your pail. You would get bonuses whenever you would get over $100 in your pail. So every $100, I think you would get an extra $10 added to your check or something like that. I only worked Sam's Club a couple times, so like if you are given Sam's Club, you're like, yes, easy extra $30 that day. There was always these rumors of people that would walk around with golden coins that always cost like so much money and would put them in pails every once in a while. Just these rich random people that would do that. I still to this day don't know what exactly those golden coins were, but apparently they were worth a lot, real gold, so there you go. So anyways, you'd get assigned to the place that you're going to be ringing bells at, and we'd all load up in the cargo van, this big white van, and just drive around, and you get dropped off, and all right, bye. The guy would come out, put a lock on the kettle and just, all right, get to work, start ringing that bell. And yeah, I mean, you'd literally just stand there the entire time, ring the bell. If you're sociable and you're cool and you see customers walking in, open up the door for them if they're not automatic opening doors. I did stuff like that just to keep warm, just to play kind of like a mind game. Because usually if you just stood there and just rang the bell, time goes by so slow. So you just gotta like make up things in your head just to, keep yourself from not going insane. And I remember the rules back then was you couldn't sit down. You'd always have to, look lively, stand there and ring the bell. It's simple as that. But I mean, just try standing outside in 20-degree weather, ringing a bell for 8, 9, 10 hours straight sometimes. You have a little lunch break, take a break when you can. You bring your lunch pail, set it by the thing, and eat it, and then get back to ringing that bell. So you start in the early morning, and you'd ring the bell all the way till it gets dark at night. So you're there practically the entire day. It's depressing, well, because winter, nights are like at 5:30, everything gets dark. But you'd sit there and be like, okay, my shift is up at 5 o'clock. All right, where is that van to come pick me up? Sometimes the van is there almost on time, and sometimes you wind up waiting an hour and a half. It just depends. And that's what killed me because you would never get paid for that hour that you had to stand there and wait for the van to come and pick you up. Now it'd be like, well, why didn't you call your parents for have them? No, 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 that wasn't gonna happen. All right, it was 2000. I didn't have a cell phone on me. They were just gonna come and pick me up at the place that they dropped me off at, the organization's main building. That was it. And plus, also, you can't leave your kettle there unattended and someone go and snatch it up. You have to stand there with the money there and wait for them to come pick you up. So when they finally would come and pick you up, they would unlock the kettle. They'd leave the stand there at the store and take the kettle and load it up and blah, blah, blah. Then you're driven back to the organization's main building, and they take all the kettles. They know which one is yours, and they load it all up in this big main room, and they just start counting the cash right there. And, you'll know by the end of the night how much you pulled in. And, just to be like, oh, cool, yeah, I brought in $23, which happened once. That was like a horrible, horrible time, standing out there ringing bells. And it was at a Walgreens, the very far outstretch of town when nobody went to. But that was one of the best ones I remember going to because, like, I was there the entire time. And I had maybe 5 people come up and put money in the thing. I had like $5 on me at that time, and I didn't have anything for lunch. So I remember going into the Walgreens, and I bought 2 big, huge boxes of Junior Mints, and I was just ringing bells and eating Junior Mints the rest of that day, and it was fire. It was great. So that's your average day as a bell ringer, and I just gotta say, having a watch handy is a good and bad thing. Because sometimes you'll look at the watch and be like, 5 minutes has passed. It feels like it's an hour that's passed. And then it's just a good gauge to see how long, you have. I mean, now everybody has cell phones, but back then having a watch was great. I think at that job, it really strengthened me mentally to be able to withstand just standing there the whole time. And as bored as I got, I was able to make up like games in my head, and I started writing songs. Like that's almost like the place where I started becoming a songwriter because I was just that bored to where it's like, oh, that's funny. I got to write that down. Also a tip is, dress accordingly. Wear a scarf, put on a hat, put on some gloves for sure. And it does make such a huge difference if you are on a side of the building where the sun is hitting you, because God, there was one time I was ringing bells at the local mall, and I was at the one entrance where the sun never touched me, and I was in the shade the entire time, and it was so bad. I was also very paranoid because obviously, first, I was a kid, and second, I didn't want to lose this job. But whenever you had to go to the bathroom, you just make it quick. Go in there, find the bathroom, do your business, come back, and, carry on. But this particular time when I was ringing bells at the mall, like I had my little lunch pail and I had a slice of pizza in there and some bubble gum. And the bubble gum is a huge tool, or some hard candy or something like that. Um, that passes time so much better because when you have a piece of bubble gum, you have something to do. It keeps you occupied besides ringing bells and saying, huh, Merry Christmas, have a good one. Okay. Because chewing bubble gum or sucking on a piece of hard candy, like, that just, instead of not doing that, it just, like, really keeps you occupied so much more. But anyways, I ate my cold pizza, and then I had to go to the bathroom at the mall. So I was like, all right, real quick, 5 minutes, run in there. I went to the food court, and I started seeing these grown men that were bell ringers, 30s, 40s, maybe 50s. They were just chilling in the food court and not at their stand and not ringing the bell. They were just like outstretched and everything. And I'm just like, I'm this young kid and I'm sitting here worried. These are grown men. Shouldn't they be more, worried and responsible? And it's like, I guess not. So, I mean, right then and there, that was like a huge wake up call to me that, not all grown men are built the same. And it's like today I see bell ringers are given chairs to sit down on. It's like that was kind of a taboo thing back then. It's like, no, you're supposed to be attentive, standing up straight, and, always do it. But like now it's like, yeah, I got a chair. It's like, man, that would have been a game changer back then. But that blew my mind. And then also that day, I was ringing the bell, and a guy came up and he put a couple dollars in the kettle, and he was like, hey, man. He's like, yeah, I know all about this job. He's like, I did it for a year. I was like, never again, man. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, maybe I won't do this again either. I don't know. But what is a young man to do when this is the only job he can get? You know what I'm saying, man? A real man just sticks to it to make sure he puts food on the table, if you know what I mean. The one time I did work at Sam's, I was ringing bells, and I was very bundled up. It was like just seeing my eyes, basically. And this parent walked up with her kid, and she pointed at me and said, all right, go give the nice lady her your money. I guess she thought I was a lady because I'm really short and I was bundled up and all you could see is my eyes, but I was like, damn it. But needless to say, when the kid went up and put money in the kettle, I was like, yeah, thanks. It kind of scared him. Ah, thanks. Merry Christmas. Ah. There was another spot I did, which was at Hobby Lobby. The only story I have about that one is there were these two dudes walking up to the entrance doors, and I hurried up and grabbed the entrance door and opened it up. And one guy walked in the doorway that I had open up, and the other guy grabbed the other door and walked in. And the dude that walked through the door that I was holding open turned to his friend. He's like, hey, dude, he's opening up the door for you. Don't you be a little bit more considerate, can't you? I just thought that was funny. I was like, yeah, bro. Come on, dude. What's up, man? But that was the only thing about Hobby Lobby that I remember. And then the other time when I was at Sam's, I was ringing bells, and this guy came up, and he was the guy that was taking care of the vending machines, like restocking it. And he had boxes upon boxes of candy bars. He had Kit Kats, Reese's, all that stuff. And he was like, hey, man, yeah, your organization, when I really needed some money and help for an operation I needed, yeah, they pulled through and really helped me out and changed my life. He was like, hey, go on and grab yourself a few candy bars out of the box here. And I was like, hell yeah. So I grabbed a couple Kit Kats and a Reese's, and he was like, oh, hey, hang on a second. No, too much. It's like, dude, you're telling a 14-year-old to come grab some candy bars. You think he's just going to go, huh? Okay, thank you. Hell no, I'm gonna go vroom. Watch me go. Now there was a place that seemed to be my usual spot, which was Shop and Save. And that was a very interesting place to ring bells at. It was a grocery store. There was one time I was ringing bells there, and I don't know, there were these two brothers. They were like left unattended, and there were just some young kids or whatever. But as the cars in the parking lot would drive up in front of the entrance way to get into a parking lot space, they would wait for the car to get really close and then run out in front of the car. And, who am I to go and tell them, hey, kids, you need to stop doing that? I'm just a kid myself, and I'm just like, I'm just going to watch, and hopefully they get in trouble or someone yells at them. But nobody did. And, I just remember seeing that, and, that passed time for a little bit at least. I don't know if you guys remember Big K or Kmart. I rang bells there a few times. And over this Christmas break, my 8th grade Christmas break, it was the only time that I actually saw one of my friends from school out in the wild coming in with his dad. And it was Jesse. And I was like, oh, hey, Jesse, I'm just here ringing bells. And, like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, I'm here. All right. And seeing them walk in, and it kind of made me think, like, damn it. He's just, like, not doing what I'm doing on Christmas break. I'm stuck here. This sucks. But at the same time, I wanted that car to drive by the time I was a sophomore, so it is what it is, There was another place I rang bells at, which was called Value City. And before Value City, it was a store called Grandpa's or Grandpa Pigeons. And Value City was like a doubler, You'd have one guy working the entrance and another guy working the exit. So I was there with this dude. I think his name was David. He had glasses, and I think he had some kind of problem or something. He was like in his early 40s, mid 40s. But he would always talk or sing whenever we'd ring bells. And it was the most annoying thing because he only sang one song the entire time. And it seemed like he was on a loop. Like he wouldn't just shut up. And he was just sitting there ringing the bell going, go tell it on the mountain. Hey, go tell it on the mountain. And he would sound like that. His voice would crack. It was horrible. It's like, if I could have $100 to put in his kettle just to shut him up, I would have done it. But maybe that was his whole angle. Getting people to donate to his kettle so he would shut up for a second to say, oh, thanks, Merry Christmas. That's basically all the stories I have of, when I would ring bells. It was cold. You'd stand there. Sometimes when the sun would hit, you would actually get warm enough to take off your coat, but you'd still keep your beanie on and some gloves. But the last two kind of things I remember about ringing bells was the times when we got picked up. And one of the stories here is something that I think is one of the funniest things that has ever happened to me in my life. Not me exactly, but I was there to experience it. So before we get to that, there was one time like Harry Potter, the first movie was coming out. And I wore glasses back then. And I kind of resembled Harry Potter a little bit. And so one of the guys in the van that rang bells, when we get in the van, he would see me and go, Harry Potter. How's your movie doing, man? Harry Potter. We've got Harry Potter here. Just be like, shut the up. I don't like Harry Potter. I don't watch it. Just shut your mouth. But every single time it was always, Harry Potter. It's like, all right, here's some wild turkey. Shut up. And now we get to the best story I have about my bell ringing career. So it was one of those nights, the van was running late, and they were picking us all up, and I was the second to last stop. The final stop was at this grocery store, kind of on the far outskirts of town, kind of in the really bad part of the town. And we get into the parking lot and, making sure that, hey, we are here. The bell ringer should be standing there by his post waiting for the van to come up and pick him up, but he's not there. Now we're sitting there waiting. The driver comes out of the van, gets the guy's kettle, and we're all just still waiting for him, wondering where he's at, and just hoping that, hey, he eventually comes out of this grocery store that he was ringing bells at and hops in the van. So we wait a little longer, and the guy finally comes out. And the driver, who, let's just give you the idea of what he looks like. He's a bald guy, but he's like buff. Like he's like a bouncer at some club. He's got a goatee, and he's really cool. Just think of like maybe the singer from the band Biohazard in his prime, something like that. The guy comes out that we were waiting on, and the driver, the Biohazard vocalist, rolls down his window, and he says to him, hey, yeah, what took you so long? Just kind of joking, haha, but not really. Come on, get in the van. And this guy that we were waiting on then flips him off. And so this makes the van driver irate. He busts out of the driver's side door and grabs the dude and slams him up against the van, the side of the van. And we're just hearing a scuffle now. And I'm just hearing somebody's face being smeared down the side of the van. Just all this yelling and just movement outside. And the guy finally gets in the van, and he gets in the very back. The driver hops into the van, and we head back to the main building. And the entire trip on the way back to the main building, this guy in the back is yelling at the driver saying, I'm going to get you for defamation of character and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. Now, this guy in the back that we were waiting on, he was just like skinny as a rail. He just looked like he hadn't been, eating. His cheeks were all sunken in and everything else. And he looked like he didn't go to law school, but he certainly did know a lot of laws. He was spitting out all kinds of stuff, defamation of character and a bunch of other things. And the guy driving was like, yeah, you do that. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see as soon as we get back. There was a lot of unsavory language that I'll spare you right now that was being said. Everybody else was quiet. We're just like, oh, God. It was a good time. It was definitely an eye-opening experience, to say the least. But anyways, we get back to the main building. All the other bell ringers are gone, and I'm just waiting for my parents to come, because as soon as we get back to the building, I have to make the call and say, hey, I'm back, come pick me up. Sometimes I'd have to wait about a half an hour or whatever, but I'm sitting there waiting, and the guy that we were waiting on and fought with the driver is standing there next to me, and it's just him and I in this lobby while the driver is in the other room talking to the main people in the building about what happened. And this dude just started pouring his like life story to me. I'm some 14-year-old kid, and he's just like, yeah, man, I don't know, man. I really came a long way to, come get clean and defamation of character and, all this stuff. And I'm just standing there just like, yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah. And he took me saying that as me laughing at him. He's like, hey, man, you don't know how bad it is, man. I don't know what's so fucking funny to you. After he said that to me, I was just like, I laughed even more, but I just walked away and just let him stand there. Yeah, that was definitely a very cool night, to say the least. So how I worked that job, going to school, I was still in junior high. I didn't work any of the week days or weeknights, whatever. Obviously, I had school, but I did it every Saturday and Sunday. So my weekends were me ringing bells. So that went from the beginning of November, maybe mid-November, all the way up until Christmas break. And then when Christmas break would happen around the 20th or the 19th, that's when I would do it every single day up until Christmas. I think all the money I made that season, I mean, it was put towards my very first car, but I think it only really amounted up to, I want to say $500 at the most after taxes. But but I guess that was a good chunk of change. It helped buy the car and also went to insurance, which I think insurance for a young kid like me at that time, it was like $800 every 6 months. And then again, I think that insurance company was really, really screwing me over big time. And they're out of business now. So I guess they deserved it. Because when it came time to when I did need to make a claim, they nickel and dimed me like crazy. So I'm glad. I'm glad they're out of business. Surprisingly enough, I did do 2 seasons. I did the 2000 winter break and the 2001 winter break. But after the second season, nah, I was done. I was out of it. So that's my experience ringing bells for a organization over the winter break, over Christmas break, and that is just one of the many things that I have memories about over Christmas time, and I'm happy to share these great stories about it. And if you are a young man and you are looking for extra money and no one is hooking you up with a job, get yourself a worker's permit and go to a certain organization that rings bells, and they'll probably let you work, given the other help they have, which are grown men that just, not stay at their kettles and hang out inside wherever they're at. Yeah, you'll be an easy shoe in. Thank you guys for watching. I hope these stories brought some cheer into your life this holiday season. I'm DJ Glowing Ice. Peace out.